Most people believe they are tired, but often they are not. They are resisting. Real exhaustion is physical. Your body slows, your muscles weaken, your focus fades. But the fatigue most people feel appears at very specific moments. When the work becomes uncomfortable, when the task requires discipline, when effort must begin. Suddenly the mind says something familiar. You're tired. But watch what happens next. A message appears on your phone. A new distraction arrives. Something entertaining presents itself. And the fatigue disappears. Energy returns instantly. Attention sharpens. Curiosity wakes up. That was not exhaustion. It was avoidance. The mind is skilled at protecting itself from effort. When a task feels demanding, it begins negotiating. Start later. Do it tomorrow. You deserve a break. These phrases sound reasonable. They sound compassionate. They sound logical. But they are often nothing more than resistance speaking politely. Discipline requires seeing through this illusion, understanding that the first wave of fatigue is often psychological, not physical. Your mind senses discomfort ahead, so it produces hesitation. The hesitation arrives disguised as tiredness. The moment before effort is where the negotiation begins. You feel the resistance. You hear the excuses. You feel the pull toward delay. Most people stop here. They accept the negotiation. They postpone the action. But every time that happens, discipline weakens. Because the mind learns something important. If it argues long enough, you will listen. And once the mind learns that negotiation works, it begins negotiating more often. Small tasks feel heavier. Starting feels harder. Effort begins to feel rare. Not because your capacity disappeared, because resistance was rewarded. The disciplined person understands this pattern. They recognize the moment the mind begins bargaining, and they do something simple. They move anyway. Not because the resistance disappears, because they refuse to negotiate with it. Most of the time, you are not tired. You are standing at the edge of effort, and your mind is asking for permission to avoid it. The mind rarely refuses effort directly. It negotiates. Very rarely does the mind say, "Do nothing." Instead, it proposes a compromise. Start later. Just today. You deserve a break. Each suggestion sounds reasonable. Each one feels harmless. But these negotiations follow a pattern. They appear at the exact moment effort is required. Before the workout begins, before the difficult conversation, before the task that demands focus. That is when the bargaining starts. The mind begins presenting options. Rest instead. Delay instead. Choose something easier. The negotiation is subtle. It does not sound like weakness. It sounds like logic. I'll be more productive tomorrow. I'm not in the right mindset today. I need to recharge first. These arguments feel convincing because the mind knows exactly how to persuade you. It speaks in your voice. It uses your reasoning. It presents comfort as intelligence. But discipline recognizes the pattern. The moment negotiation begins, action must begin. If you wait for the negotiation to end, you will wait forever. Because the mind is skilled at extending the conversation. One excuse becomes another. One delay becomes the next. Soon the task moves from today to tomorrow, then to next week, and eventually it disappears completely. This is how discipline quietly erodes, not through dramatic failure, through small negotiations. Each accepted excuse strengthens the habit of avoidance. Each delay teaches the mind something dangerous. If resistance appears, you will obey it. Over time, the negotiation becomes automatic. You feel discomfort. Your mind offers relief. You accept the offer, and the cycle repeats. The disciplined person breaks the cycle early, not by winning the argument, but by refusing to have it. They do not debate the voice. They do not reason with the resistance. They begin the action. Once movement begins, the negotiation weakens. Once effort starts, the resistance fades, because the mind can argue against effort, but it struggles to argue against momentum. This is the quiet skill of discipline. Not eliminating resistance, acting before resistance can persuade you. The negotiation will always appear. The difference is whether you listen to it or move past it. If you're done living in distraction, like and subscribe. This channel exists to help you protect your attention and build something real. Negotiation feels harmless. It feels temporary. Just one delay, just one exception, just one moment of rest. But discipline is not destroyed in large moments. It erodes through small permissions. Each time you accept the negotiation, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. The mind remembers the outcome. Resistance appears. You listen. The task disappears. And the mind learns something dangerous. Avoidance works. Once this pattern is learned, resistance grows stronger. Tasks feel heavier before they even begin. Effort feels larger than it actually is. Starting feels more difficult each time. Not because the task changed, because your response to resistance did. When negotiation becomes normal, momentum disappears. You spend more time thinking about effort than actually applying it. Your energy goes into internal debate instead of action. I'll do it later. I need to prepare first. I should wait for the right moment. These thoughts feel productive, but they create paralysis. Because preparation becomes postponement, and postponement becomes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who intends to act, but rarely begins. Plans grow larger. Action grows smaller. Over time, this gap becomes painful. You know what you should be doing, but starting feels harder than ever. Not because you lack ability, because you trained your mind to negotiate. The cost of negotiation is not only delay, it is self-trust. Each time you promise yourself action, then accept avoidance, you weaken the relationship with your own word. You say you will start, but you postpone. You say you will push through, but you negotiate. Eventually, your own mind stops believing you. This is where discipline collapses. Not through exhaustion, through broken promises to yourself. Once self-trust disappears, resistance feels stronger, because your mind expects you to give in. It knows the pattern. It has seen the outcome. And so, the negotiation begins earlier, louder, more convincing, until effort feels impossible. The tragedy is simple. Most people are capable of the work, but they lose to the conversation before the work begins. Discipline does not collapse in action. It collapses in negotiation, and most people lose the battle before they ever start. Resistance will always appear. No matter how disciplined you become, no matter how clear the goal is, no matter how important the task feels, the voice will still arrive. It will offer the same suggestions. Later. Tomorrow. Just rest today. The negotiation never disappears. Discipline is not the absence of resistance. It is action, despite it. Most people wait for resistance to leave. They believe they must feel ready, motivated, energized. But readiness rarely arrives first. Action does. The moment you move, something shifts. The mind that was negotiating begins adapting. Momentum replaces hesitation. Focus replaces doubt. Because resistance thrives in stillness. It weakens in motion. The disciplined person understands this. They do not wait for the internal debate to finish. They interrupt it with action. One step, one task, one beginning. Once the first movement happens, the negotiation loses power. Your mind cannot easily argue against what is already happening. When effort begins, resistance fades into the background. Over time, this pattern builds something powerful: self-trust. You promise action, then you act. You encounter resistance, then you move anyway. Each repetition strengthens the relationship with your own word. Your mind learns something new. Resistance will not stop you. Eventually, the negotiation changes. It becomes shorter, quieter, less convincing. Not because the mind stopped protecting comfort, because you stopped obeying it. Discipline is not loud. It is quiet consistency. Action taken despite hesitation. Movement taken despite doubt. The difference between those who drift and those who progress is simple. One group negotiates with resistance. The other moves through it. Most of the time, you are not tired. You are standing at the edge of effort, and discipline is the step forward. If this clarified something for you, like the video, subscribe. Then act before the negotiation begins again.